Hello everyone! Now you might be wondering why I have just a line art right here. It's because I'm going to show you how to quickly color your own line art. Now the first thing you need to color any drawing at all is to choose a good color scheme. It is very useful to decide this before starting coloring, so you have everything planned and you're not going around and around with your own colors. It makes everything more difficult. So I'm just going to show you some places to find colors. Now the first website, there's few videos from me using this website, which is colors.co. Here it is. And this website will give you random palettes, so you have here a palette that you can use or not. If you don't want it, you can just press your spacebar and bam, we have another one. If you do have an idea of what you want, you can come to peloton.com. So in here you can go around the color wheel, choose whatever color you want. You can choose for it to be more or less saturated, brighter or darker. You can do a lot of editing here, and as you can see, as I move things around, it will show me all the colors selected in this area. Now other than this, let's say you want to use a specific color scheme. So let's say you want to use 3 colors. You can, this is a triadic color scheme, for example. You can move this around, and as you can see, again, as you move things, you'll have here palettes done with all the colors you can see in these areas that are selected. You can also, if you're using a monotone color scheme, you can add a complementary color, and there we go. Now you have 2 colors and many tones in each of these colors. So you can just move things around until you have something that you really like. Then finally, again, you can go to either Pinterest or Google and look for specific palettes. So for example, here I look for something like autumn palette, and these are the things that show me. So you have here this picture of pumpkins in the blue background, and you have the colors that are used in this. You have this image here of leaves, and you have all the selected colors from this image. So now we go to the second step of coloring. We have a color scheme, right? So now it's time to start coloring. So what I do here is I usually have the line art layer right here, my cookie girl. And now I'm going, oh, a reminder, I'm using Clip Studio Paint. Some softwares will work a bit differently, but you can do most of these steps in any kind of software. So I will create now a new raster layer beneath my line art. So here is my line art, and here I have the color, base color, layer. All right. Now, instead of grabbing a brush and just start painting it, I'm going to do this very quickly. I'm going to grab here my paint bucket. I'm going to be sure that right here on the options of the Fill subtool, I have refer other layers. What this is going to do is that, for example, let's say I have refer only to editing layer. If I click here inside this shape, it will paint everything. However, if I do choose refer other layers, the software will have into account all these lines that are above this layer and will paint inside those shapes. So I'm going to pick up this yellow here and start filling things. See? It's easy. Just like this, you have your drawing filled. Now, some software, as I said, don't have this option. But another thing you can do is using the lasso tool. You can go over here and select the things that you want, and then use a paint bucket and fill it. For me, I think it takes a little bit more time for that, but if you don't have another choice, then you can do this. You have a lot of ways to select a drawing. You can select those things and then use the paint bucket to fill. If you do have Clip Studio Paint, then use your paint bucket, refer other layers and start filling things. So we're going to just go over here, keep picking colors and fill everything. This is a very simple process and it makes drawing much quicker. Of course, this works if you're working with line art, if you do a very simple coloring, but usually when you want to add base colors, you can always go this way. It doesn't really matter which kind of style you're using. I mean, of course, if you're painting things directly and not using line art, it doesn't work the same way. You'll have to go with your brushes and paint as you go. But if you're using line art, you can always just add your layers this way. I'm sorry, you can always add your base colors this way. Now, okay, everything is filled with the base colors. Now our next step is to fix everything, because sometimes the line art might not be completely filled. Paint bucket can also have some trouble seeing where one thing ends and another begins. So now all we have to do is grab our brush and fill where it needs to be filled with color. So for example, here, as you can see, we need to add the white here to the teeth and the orange to the tongue, and now it looks a bit better, right? Also the white here in the eyes. So this whole process now is just me fixing everything. So I'm just going to fast forward this for a little bit and I'll talk to you later. Okay, so our base colors are done. The next step is we like to add a little bit something, right? It's a little bit too flat here. So now we want to add shadows. And how are we going to do that? It's very simple. I have here my base color layer, right? I have my line art layer here, and above the base color I'm going to create another layer. So we'll have a layer between the line art and the base colors. I'm going to select or activate this button here, the clip to layer below. So that means that it's going to refer to this layer only. Now I'm going to go here to the modes, to the blending modes, and select multiply. And finally, let's add some transparency here. So I'm going to put this at 50%. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to pick the colors that we already have and start adding shadows. But before adding shadows, we want to know where is the light coming from. So before starting to add your shadows, choose a place where the light is coming from. I'm going to keep it very simple here. Let's say that the light is coming from this side. Then that means that our shadows will all be on this side, right? So here I am in my multiply layer. I have this yellow selected and I'm going to start. Now as you can see, if I'm painting here outside, it doesn't show. Why? Because this layer is clipped to the base colors, so it can't go outside of it. It's only having in account this layer. So this is very helpful because I don't have to be worrying about the color going outside the drawing, so I can just paint things and have some fun. This is of course the way I color. You don't exactly need to do it exactly the same as I do, but it is a good start. So if this helps you, you can pick some things from this process and start using in your own coloring process. And there we go, we have our shadows done. So another step of coloring done. Now we can add a little bit more. This is not, well, none of these steps are obligatory, of course, but sometimes, for example, if my character is wearing some jewelry, I like to add some shinies to it, so a little bit of light here and there, but not a lot. So I can either add a new layer, or sometimes I will just go to my line art layer and use that. But in here, just so you have everything separated and organized, I'm going to add a layer on top of my line art. And here we have the lights. We forgot to name this one here, so shadows. So this is a very small step. I'm going to grab a lighter tone and use it to add a little bit of shiny here and there. Now, one thing you might have noticed, I'm not using white. I don't like to use complete white unless it's something very specific. I like to pick the color that I had, so for example here is yellow, and maybe go almost to the white, but I want to have just a lighter tone of the color that I have. I want to keep the same color. So pay attention to that. It's very different to use a pure white instead of a lighter tone of the color you have. So especially if you're using, like for example here, this darker orange, the white will be a bit too much, but the same orange but a bit lighter works a little bit better. So there we go. See, we add a little bit more to our character by adding these shinies, and it was a very small detail, very simple, and this is how you can very quickly color your characters. It's very quick and painless. So I hope this video helped you. I hope you have a lot of fun coloring your characters now, and of course like and subscribe if you like this video so you can see more like this, and as always, keep on drawing.